Hello and welcome to Market Open Direct Connect, a webinar series for companies to tell their story, why it's compelling and why it's an opportunity to invest. I'm your host, Stuart Walters, and we're joined here today by Scott Williamson, the Managing Director of Blackstone Minerals, ASX code BSX. Scott will provide a company update and merger details with IDM International and will participate in a Q&A with attendees post-presentation. Attendees will have opportunity to ask questions directly to Scott, and you can submit those questions via the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. A recording of this webinar will be available on Market Open and Blackstone Minerals website and social media channels within the next 24 hours. So it's time to introduce our guest. Scott, welcome to Direct Connect and over to you.
Thanks, Stuart, and thanks everybody for tuning in today. Yeah, we recently announced the exciting opportunity to merge with IDM International and explore the world-class Mankayan Copper-Gold Porphyry project in the Philippines. And yeah, really excited to talk to you today about that great opportunity and looking forward to plenty of questions after the presentation. So as I said, it is an exciting opportunity. This is what we see as a world-class porphyry system. There's actually a couple of porphyries in this region, or more than two actually, and we'll talk more about that. But it's it's a great opportunity to leverage off the great work that IDM International have done already. So this is an unlisted entity that we're merging with. They have done some very large 1,000-meter holes, so two of those with assays pending. So these holes were for metallurgical and geotechnical purposes and assays pending. So opportunities for good news flow in the coming weeks and months through that. It is strategically located 2.5 kilometers along strike of the active Lepanto gold mine and the far southeast porphyry. So we'll talk more about that today, but that's a really interesting opportunity sitting along strike of another world-class porphyry and an active gold mine. The merged entity is going to be able to leverage off and utilize our extensive base metals experience that we have over in Vietnam. So we've got a full suite of engineers, geologists, metallurgists, and so we've been able to build a really strong team as we've progressed the Khoa nickel project in Vietnam. And we'll be able to use that expertise and experience that we've had over 5 years of operating in Vietnam. We'll be able to use that team and experience in the Philippines. Very exciting time for Philippines mining. It is open for business. And most importantly, the IDM team has already done a lot of the good work required for the social license to operate at Mankayan. So as I said, it is a world-class mineral district, so you can see some world-class intercepts. It's not very often you see drill intercepts like this. So you can see very broad intercepts and very high grades, particularly in the gold. So a lot of copper-gold porphyries don't have very high gold grades, but these are some of the highest gold grades you'll see globally in any copper-gold porphyry system. So it is a large mineralized system. It's actually open along strike and at depth. And it also has a high-grade core. So you can see in some of those including numbers with gold grades up towards 1 gram per ton and copper equivalent in the 1 to 1.5%. So very high-grade core, which allows us the opportunity for potential lower capex scenarios. So a lot of porphyries don't have that high-grade core and that opportunity to develop with a lower capex scenario. So that's a thing that definitely distinguishes us from a lot of other copper-gold porphyries globally, is that high-grade core. Philippines has a long history of successful mining operations. B2 Gold, Oceana Gold in the region, and we'll show you the map soon. So it is located within a well-known world-class district. Some very large porphyry systems, but particularly high gold grades. We believe higher gold grades than anything else globally. So you can see here, very well located, not far from Vietnam. So we can use our experience from Vietnam in the Philippines. We can use a lot of the equipment that we've bought when we were operating in Vietnam. So we've got a dozen drill rigs. We've got 2 geophysics equipment kits. We've even got our own metallurgical laboratory over in Vietnam. So a lot of that equipment we can use in the Mankayan project. But most importantly, all that team and the experience that we've built in-house, we can use into the Mankayan project. So this is where we're located. It's in the north, in the Luzon district, which we believe is the better operating jurisdiction of the Philippines. So it's 340 kilometers, or about 7 hours north of Manila. As I said, 2.5 kilometers along strike of the active Lepanto gold mine. It's 120 kilometers north of an active underground block caving operation, which is also interesting. So there is block caving experience in the region. So it is a classic copper gold porphyry with the high grade core. It's over 1.1 kilometers of strike, 600 meters wide, and it's drilled down to 1.1 kilometers. So it's open at depth along strike. There's over 56,000 meters of diamond drilling already to date. And that gives us a great opportunity to leverage off the good work of the previous owners. But more importantly, we think that there's an opportunity to do our own work and step back and really systematically explore this region as well. For example, our geophysics will be the first step that we will take to really unlocking this system. So a lot of porphyries use geophysical techniques to explore. This one in particular hasn't used much geophysics. We couldn't actually see any geophysical data in the data room. So for example, we'll be using that geophysical data to really understand, okay, well, are there a number of other porphyries in this region? Or how big is the porphyry at Mankayan already? So like I said, it's open along strike, so there's plenty of opportunity to extend. It was discovered through a structural target and no other than a structural target. And then once they first discovered it, and they just kept drilling it. So no one's really stepped back and systematically explored this particular project. This is probably the most important part about this opportunity, is that the Philippines is open for business. So President Marcos was elected in 2022. He is definitely pro-mining. Production was up 32% in the first year. So you can see that we've got a change of president, and then we're really opening up for business for mining in the Philippines. So you can see some very significant cash flow generating mines. Masbate, owned by B2 Gold, they've operated for over 10 years. Oceana own the Didipio mine. Oceana Gold, that's also been operating for over 10 years. And you can see that their operating costs, so their all-in sustaining costs, some of the lowest all-in sustaining costs globally, and that's because of the cost of operating in these jurisdictions. And so what we're seeing is a real supportive government regime, particularly from the highest levels of government. You've got a long history of successful operations, particularly at B2 Gold and Oceana Gold. And so that's something we didn't have in Vietnam. So we're really excited to be able to go into a region where there's good precedent of successful operators and over multiple decades. So really excited to really leverage off this great opportunity where we've got a very supportive government. Marcos will be in power for another 3 or 4 years. So we've got a good run on the current government and really looking to leverage off that opportunity. And this is another really important part of this project, is the great work that the IDM team have done in country. IDM in 2022 extended their mining license for 25 years. So this is a major milestone to extend that MPSA, the Mineral Production Sharing Agreement, which is effectively your mining license to operate. That was extended in 2022. And then just in December 2024, so just a couple of months ago, they signed a memorandum of agreement with the local Indigenous people. And that is one of the most significant milestones for operating in the Philippines. So that gives free and prior consent to the local Indigenous people. That is effectively your social license to operate in the Philippines. So the IDM team have created a great opportunity here because they've done a lot of that work. They've built those strong community relations over multiple decades. So there's a number of junior mining companies that have been owners of this asset, and we can see that over multiple decades that this team has created very strong community relations, and really excited to be able to continue that work. And as we did in Vietnam, really it's all about community and working closely with the local community, because that's what's going to drive your social license to operate. So this is a long section of the region. So we've got the Lepanto, active Lepanto gold mine, 2.5 kilometers. So you can see there's actually 3 types of mineralization at Lepanto. They're actually mining the higher grade epithermal veins at the higher levels of the system. There's also high grade copper gold veins at shallow levels as well. And then there's at the bottom of the system is the far southeast porphyry. So this is an interesting history here. So Goldfields acquired 40% of far southeast for $230 million. They drilled over 100,000 meters, so their total investment was around $500 million, and they've walked away and left this opportunity for the Lepanto Consolidated Mining Company. So this is a 100% Filipino-owned company. They're listed on the Philippine Stock Exchange. There's a real opportunity to work together and just see what could come of this. So there's an opportunity to potentially share infrastructure and these sorts of things. So the Mankayan Porphyry and the far southeast porphyry, I believe, are 2 of the best undeveloped porphyries globally, and there's a real opportunity to work together between the Mankayan and far southeast. I can see 2 of the best undeveloped porphyries globally, and it's particularly driven by that gold grade, as I said. So real opportunity to work with Lepanto. They are an active gold miner. The good thing about this is that it's a mining region. So this mine next door has been operating since the 1930s. So over nearly 100 years of operating history. And that means that the community are all mining people, and they all have access to the mine. And there's a lot of, I suppose, economic benefits that they've seen over multiple decades. So just on the deal, so it's effectively a merger of equals, 7.4 Blackstone shares for every IDM International share. It's an implied valuation of around $18.7 million for the IDM shareholders. The combined group will be led by myself, Hamish, and Jeff Gilmore from the IDM side. Greg Cunnold and Johan will stay on as advisors. The 2 executive teams will be combined. So yeah, really looking forward to what is effectively a merger of equals over the coming months. So pro forma market cap. So you can see board and management of IDM hold a strong position. We'll have 3 major shareholders. Besant Resources, that's an AIM listed company. They were a major shareholder of IDM, and then would be, if successful merger, they would be a major shareholder of Blackstone. Our major shareholders, Nanja, Sabetta, and Deutsche Balaton. So you can see, yeah, it's effectively a merger of equals, and around $37 to $38 million market cap. This is just the indicative timetable. So looking to complete the merger towards the end of May, and obviously a fair process involved, and looking forward to working through that process with the IDM team. And this is the team. So as I said, myself, Hamish, and Jeff on the board. Greg and Johan as advisors. Johan's had multiple decades of operating in the Philippines. He's a mining engineer. He's actually the chairman of B2Gold's subsidiary company that runs the Masbate mine. Greg's a geologist with over 25 years of experience operating all around the world. So Greg will come on as well. Most importantly, Joey and Ronnie from IDM, they are key people to this transaction. So they are the in-country leads or head of country for the Philippines. Joey is a very well-renowned geologist. He has very strong relationships at the highest levels of government, and particularly in that geological department of the Philippines. Ronnie is a mining engineer. Ronnie's actually been with this asset, I think, nearly 20 years. So he's got the long-standing relationships with the community. He actually speaks the local dialect in that region where the project is located. So Ronnie and Joey are really important addition to the Blackstone team under a successful merger scenario. So you can see here, and I'll particularly focus on the gold grade, which is the x-axis. So you can see some of the highest gold grades out of all of the global undeveloped copper gold porphyries. So you can see some of the big names like Winu and Philo, which is Rio Tinto and BHP. So we're right up there with some of the best undeveloped copper gold porphyries globally. Plus we've got that high grade core. So you can see that high grade core, very similar grade to the far southeast, which is the next door neighbor. So yeah, really excited to expand on this. We think this is just the start. As I said, it's open along strike and at depth, so there's plenty more to come. But we've got a really good starting point with what we can see is one of the highest grade undeveloped copper gold porphyries globally. And then just on from an ASX perspective, it will be one of the largest copper gold or copper porphyry resources on the ASX, and with at the moment one of the lower market caps. So yeah, really excited to re-rate potentially based on significant copper in the ground, but also that exposure to gold, which is just as important in this current economic environment. So just in summary, it's Mankayan. I think it's a world-class porphyry. It's definitely a world-class mineral district with far southeast next door. These are large porphyry systems with high gold grades. Philippines is pro-mining. It's open for business. There's a strong history of successful operations, particularly B2 Gold and Oceana Gold. And the IDM team has done all the great work already for the social license to operate. And so those two key milestones being the mining license for another 25 years and the memorandum agreement with the local indigenous, they are the two major steps to a social license to operate in the Philippines. And we'll now move forward together and progressing that relationship, particularly with the local community. As I said, located 2.5 kilometers along strike of an active gold mine, and there's an opportunity to potentially bring these two porphyries together, and we'll be looking at how do we attract major mining companies to this region, and one of the better ways to do that is to talk about two porphyries potentially coming together. So it is a large mineralized system, but it has that high grade core, and that's a key differentiator from us. This particular Mankayan porphyry has that high grade core, which allows for potential lower capex development scenarios. So there is potential for smaller, say for example, a long hole open stoping versus some of the bulker mining methods, which may require higher capex. So real opportunity to look at that high grade core, but also the opportunity to attract major mining companies on the global resource, which is, we think, one of the best undeveloped globally. I think I'll leave it there. Thanks, Stuart.
Scott, thank you. Fantastic presentation, and certainly an exciting time ahead for your current shareholders, but future ones as well. We've had a series of questions come in, so we'll get straight onto those now. What has happened in the Philippines for you to claim that it's open for business and can become a preferred mining jurisdiction, given the checked history many foreign companies have encountered?
Yeah, so I think that it's really driven by the current president, President Marcos. Since he's come into power, we've seen an increase in metal production. We've seen a real focus from the highest levels of government. For example, the government is working closely with the mining industry at how do they de-risk and move these projects forward. So, for example, Joey is working very closely with the Mines and Geological Bureau to really identify what are the best value projects to come online. So the government's really getting on the front foot and saying, well, how do we move this forward? So we're seeing a completely different change from previous government with respect to just their focus on mining. And I think what's really happened is they've seen mining become such an important thing for their neighbor in Indonesia. And I think they see this opportunity to really open up the mining sector because it can bring so much economic benefit to their country. And so yeah, there's different I suppose history depending on which company you look at. But what we've seen is the previous governments to Duterte, for example, were pro-mining, and that's how groups like B2Gold and OceanaGold were able to open their opportunities up. And I think we're seeing that swing back to a pro-mining environment with that Marcos president.
And assuming most of the capital raised will be spent in the Philippines, what does this mean for Vietnam?
We're continuing to work on a joint venture partnership, and we're well advanced on that, and we've spoken about that previously. So the idea is that there's a partnership there that potentially could allow us to almost be free carried. So the idea is that we would then look to all of the initial funding to go towards the Philippines, but there's an opportunity where a lot of our costs may be covered in Vietnam via the partnership process.
And based on the presentation, I can see that you can only own 64%. How can you make that work economically?
Yeah, so I might just go to one of the slides from the appendix to talk you through that. So there is a effective control of 64% at the mining level. But most importantly, I'll go to the Masbate case study, which you'll see at the back of the presentation. So basically what happened with Masbate, which is owned by B2Gold, you can effectively own 100%, or you can own 100% of the processing facility. So you can see in this particular case, B2Gold owns 100% of the processing facility, and then the mining entity has an ore purchase agreement with the processing facility. So you can see there that the ore purchase agreement it sells ore to the 100% owned concentrator, for example, or processing facility at a price equal to the cost of the ore plus a predetermined percentage. So that ore purchase agreement allows the mining entity to make a small margin, but you effectively, or you have the right to own 100% of the profits from the mining or the processing facility. So they're effectively having as close as possible to 100% economic interest of the project at the mining stage.
Scott, are there any synergies with the Philippines nickel industry and what you're doing in Vietnam?
The main synergies really, I suppose, the benefit to use our operating experience and our people and our equipment. The Philippines nickel industry it's very different to what we were doing in Vietnam. We've been focused on nickel sulfide. The Philippines nickel industry is more nickel laterite. It's a different type of mining. And so, yeah, our preference is probably sulfide with respect to nickel. And so, yeah, the real synergies is just using our expertise, our development history, our understanding of operating in Southeast Asian jurisdictions, and our equipment that we've purchased as well. So unfortunately, not so much on the nickel side, because nickel in the Philippines is not the type of nickel that we would generally get involved in.
What strategic advantages does the merger with IDM International bring to Blackstone, particularly in developing the Mankayan Copper-Gold Project?
Yeah, so I think the biggest advantage is exposure across a commodity suite that is more in favor, and particularly copper gold. We see that exposure to copper gold gives us exposure to both the energy transition metals, being copper, nickel, but also the benefit of having that gold hedge. So yeah, for us it's ability to have exposure to multiple commodities, but also leverage off all that great work we've done. So remembering that when we went into Vietnam, it was very similar stage. We drilled 100,000 meters. We went from scoping study to pre-feasibility study, and then ultimately a bankable feasibility study. So it's a fairly similar situation here where we've got a bit of an understanding of the geology, but we think that there's probably more to see here. And then we'll just move this asset forward as we did in Vietnam. So it's very much a rinse and repeat of what we've done in Vietnam. It's using all of that expertise and all that operating history that we've built up in-house, and moving this asset forward to a much bigger opportunity.
Given the Mankayan Project's high-grade core, what are the key development scenarios being considered? Selective mining, say bulk mining, and what factors will determine the final approach?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So with the high-grade core, you've got a number of different opportunities there. The most likely scenario with the high-grade core is a long hole open stoping. We will consider other mining methods, the bulk mining methods, including open pit, and so there is opportunities for bulk mining methods, and that really comes down to who's going to mine this. Is it Blackstone, or is it a major mining company, or is it a combination of the two? So if it's Blackstone, then we'll be looking at the smaller capex long hole open stoping scenarios. If it's a major mining company, they might be looking at much larger bulk mining opportunities, including open pits and big underground. So we've got that flexibility to, depending on where the market's at and where the interest comes from as well. So we expect that there will be significant interest from major mining companies, and that they're going to look at this, and then they're going to go straight to the big broader opportunity. But if we do have a difficult capital markets, for example, and we can't get access to the capital required for those bulk mining methods, then Blackstone can go and do a smaller capex long hole open stoping scenario, for example. So which is very similar to the Didipio mine, which is nearby. So Didipio has been operating as a long hole open stope, 2 million tonne per annum for a number of years now. So we've got precedent of both in the region. So we've got Didipio running as a long hole open stope, and then we've got that block cave mine to the south of us as well. So we've got two very close nearby mines operating with two of the different mining methods that could be considered for the Mankayan project.
Philippines mining sector is undergoing regulatory and political changes. How do you assess the investment climate, and what are the risks and opportunities for foreign mining companies?
Yeah, so I think as we know with many jurisdictions, the things sort of move in and out of favor, and there was definitely an almost mining was definitely out of favor in the previous government with Duterte, and there was almost this anti-mining rhetoric, and that unfortunately is the reason why the sentiment turned, but we're now seeing a complete shift in the other direction. So yeah, the opportunity is there is a new president, Marcos. He is pro-mining. He's got another 3.5 to 4 years. So we've got a good long run at the current president with respect to mining. So we think that that's a good window for us to de-risk this project. And that then will attract, we think, major mining companies and international capital to this region. So we're hearing really good things about a number of the other major projects in the Philippines. And so it is definitely opening up for business. That's the opportunity. And I think that's the key here, is that technically, clearly this is a world-class asset, but now it's all about, okay, well, how do we move this forward in the current presidential regime and move this forward and de-risk this and then most likely attract some major mining companies to the region.
Post-merger, compared to the peers, what would be a fair value in market cap in your view?
Oh, I used to be an analyst, mining analyst. I think it's really difficult to say, but I think if you go back to the comp chart, you can see that copper in the ground is being valued significantly higher than the current MergeCo market cap. And then the question is, well, how do you risk adjust it for the Philippines? And I think as we educate the market and the market realize that the Philippines is actually a great jurisdiction to be operating. For example, we've just operated 5 years in Vietnam. This is going to be, we believe, easier than what we've just done because we do have those precedent cases and we have a supportive central government in the Philippines. So as the market starts to realize, and the best way to do that is to really just get on the road, educate people, and as people realize that it is opening up, then your risk adjustment for the Philippines needs to be adjusted. And so yeah, it's a world-class asset. How much do you discount it? that's everyone's that's up to everyone to make that decision themselves.
The Mankayan Project is located near the Lepanto Gold Mine at the far southeast project. Are there any potential synergies or collaboration opportunities with nearby operators?
Yeah, so the view we've got is we've got two world-class porphyries side by side, 2.5 kilometers apart. There's a fence in the middle, but there's an opportunity to collaborate. And so if we can work closely with the Lepanto Gold Mine, they're a local Filipino group, I think together we can work together, and that's what's really going to attract other major mining companies to the region. I think both assets on their own are world class, and they have the ability to attract significant interest from majors. But if you can bring them together and just de-risk the whole thing from a social license perspective, that's what's really going to attract the majors, because it doesn't make sense to build two large concentrators side by side. So most likely scenario, one concentrator, shared underground infrastructure, multiple large scale mines. That's what's going to attract major mining companies. And the sooner we can start to work together on attracting that capital and those opportunities to the region, the better it is for both of us. So yeah, we're really keen to continue some of the good work that IDM have done on this with respect to this opportunity, and really keen to continue to collaborate and potentially bring the two assets together in some way, shape, or form.
Your presentation highlights social license to operate. Can you elaborate on the community engagement and sustainability initiatives Blackstone and IDM International have undertaken?
Yeah, so as I said, Ronnie is the key guy there, and he's done an amazing job over, like I said, he's been with the asset for 20 years. So he's has some very strong relationships with the local community and particularly the local indigenous. And that was what culminated in that memorandum of agreement signing in December. So that's a major milestone that a lot of operators in the region struggle to get. So that just shows the strong relationship with the IDM team have with the local community. We'll obviously continue to do as we did in Vietnam. That was a big part of what we did in Vietnam, is we leveraged off the previous owners' great work and really just continue the great work the previous owners have done. And that's exactly what we did with the community in Vietnam. And we're looking forward to be able to do that with the IDM team, because from what we can see, they're doing it exactly the way we would do it. That you've got to have a patient approach. You have to understand and listen, and that's exactly what you can do as a junior. And that's the difference between the majors. Unfortunately, the majors can tend to not take the same approach, and so what we see is there's a great opportunity for a junior mining company like IDM and Blackstone to really patiently move through this process and really build those strong relationships, which the previous owners have done over multiple decades now. So a lot of the good work's already done, but really keen to continue off and leverage off that great work that they've already done.
You've touched on this a little bit already, but how much work do you anticipate you'd need to do before you'd expect to see some interest from a major mining company?
Well, my view is that we should not really be going down too far down the study path until we actually understand how big the ore body is, and that's why I'm really excited to look at the geophysics, a bit of drilling, really understand. Okay, well, how big is this? It's open along strike and at depth. Obviously, we're not going to drill to 2 kilometers of depth, but there's opportunity to go deeper. And more importantly, along strike. So we really want to step along strike, do a bit of geophysics. Okay, are there other porphyries within the tenement package? So yeah, I think, and then it's the social license. So as that social license piece just continues to move in the right direction, that's probably more so what's going to attract the majors is that those milestones. For example, the memorandum of agreement with the indigenous. And then stepping through the environmental studies and the land access and all of those things, they're the things that are really going to, I believe, attract the majors. From a technical perspective, they've probably already done their own studies. This is an asset that's been around, and so they probably already have a view. They're just waiting for someone to de-risk this socially, and that's the great work the IDM team have already done. So who knows? It could happen sooner rather than later. We'll see.
Scott, how does the current capital structure post-merger position Blackstone for financing the next stage of development at Mankayan?
Yeah, so obviously being an all-scrip merger, we didn't need to do a raising with the transaction. We will obviously have to raise money around the time of the merger. So we're looking to get on the road and just talk about this opportunity and just see if there's interest. There has been plenty of interest already, but. Yeah, the good thing is, we don't need cash at the moment. We're 1.6 at the end of last quarter, but we will have to do some capital raisings but look, really just getting the story out there at this stage, and then look to place some capital through the merger process.
We've had two questions left. What are the key upcoming milestones for the Mankayan project, and what would constitute success in the next 12 to 18 months for you?
Yeah, so some of the initial news flow will be around those two large 1,000-meter drill holes. So assays pending on those. The geophysics, so as quickly as possible, we want to bring our geophysics equipment across. And then drilling. As soon as the merger is complete, we want to be on the ground drilling as quickly as possible. So it's really about stepping back, understanding the system from a geological perspective, but creating some excitement around drilling again. This is a great opportunity to really understand the ore system. So it's really about geophysics, drilling, assays, all of that excitement around exploration is what's the next 6 to 12 months. And then maybe once we've found the edges of this thing, then we'll look to the study work. So it's a lot of good study work already been done. So metallurgically and geotechnically, a lot of great work already. But our view is, let's just see how big it is, and then we'll look at really progressing those study work once we've found the edges of it.
Can you work all year round?
Yeah, so full year access, all and one of the things we're looking to do is what we've done previously. We actually owned the drill rigs, so we could drill a lot cheaper. So, for example, in Vietnam, we were drilling it for $50 a meter. So if we can find the drill rigs that can go to the depths what we need, then potentially we can get our drill costs right down. And we want to be drilling all year round. So really excited about the opportunity to do some of the things that we've done previously, which is really using the low cost environment that we're operating in to our advantage, and that allow us to hopefully keep news flow just flowing all year round.
Is there any worry or concerns around any contaminants in the deposit?
No, so there's been a lot of good work done previously on the MET testing, and so we see no issues. Particularly, obviously, arsenic is something that has already been tested, and we see no issues on arsenic. And so it's a nice, clean copper gold con with good recoveries. So we see no issues on the concentrate.
And last one, Scott, how does Blackstone see Mankayan fitting into the broader copper and gold supply chain? And what long-term opportunities exist for offtake agreements or strategic partnerships?
Yeah, so like I said, this is a globally significant opportunity. It all depends on who's building it and who's operating it. If a major mining company comes in, this is the sort of asset that will add significant tons to the global supply. If it's Blackstone, then obviously would scale it right back. So it really depends on who ends up mining this, and I'd say it's probably more likely going to be a bigger group, and it will have a significant capacity to supply into the demand that's coming. So that also obviously drives downstream opportunities. So there's definitely downstream opportunities with this in particular. But at the moment for us, it's really just let's just explore it, understand it, do a bit of study work when the time's right. But we're not rushing out to find a partner or anything. This is really about just really understanding it and exploring it to start with, and then do a bit of study work. So yeah, no rush on trying to find the potential owner or partner of this. We're pretty confident that they'll be knocking the door down, and not sure when, but it'll happen when it happens.
Scott, thank you so much for that. Fantastic presentation earlier, and that's all that's come through today. Some great questions from the attendees, so thank you for taking part in the Q&A also. For more information about Blackstone Minerals, head to the company website, blackstoneminerals.com.au, or you can follow the company's social media channels. As I said earlier, there will be a recording of this webinar within the next 24 hours on Market Open and Blackstone Minerals websites. Scott, thank you so much. Keep up the great work and look forward to chatting again soon.
Thanks, Stuart.